Smart, capable couples still struggle with communication, especially under pressure. Couples coaching with Satya at Empower Coaching and Training helps professional partners slow down, listen differently, and navigate conflict with clarity and respect. This isn't therapy. It's practical, forward-focused coaching that builds skills you can use in real conversations right away. Stronger communication starts here. Visit yesempower.com to learn more.
Welcome to Rewired. I'm your host, Tiffany Grimes with Empower Coaching and Training. Welcome to 26 of the Rewired podcast. Today, I am sitting down once again with Coach Satya Beneventi. Satya integrates interpersonal neurobiology, quantum physics, and emotional intelligence to bring out the essence that lies within each individual, allowing clients to realize their full potential while at the same time dismantling shame, guilt, or deeply ingrained subconscious patterns. She specifically works with Empower through the lens of couples coaching and is phenomenal and is one of our most popular sought after coaches at Empower. She was also our first podcast guest on Rewired, unbeknownst to her. So I brought her back this time purposefully. And I'm so happy to share it with you. We had such a great conversation where we really talk about accountability in relationships, specifically in intimate relationships, but certainly applicable to all relationships, and talk about how blame and shame and pain can be indicators for us that there is some work to do inside. The conversation is full of curiosity, of laughter, and of ahas. I just loved it. I'm excited for you to listen to it. Before we get started into episode 26, though, I do want to say a couple of things. One, we have, are you ready for this? 3 spots left in our upcoming CPEC, which is Certified Professional Empower Coach training that is accredited through the International Coaching Federation and embedded within Oregon State University. Again, I repeat, only 3 spots left. So I know we've got lots of folks interested and are trying to piece together all of the different aspects to make this come together. So if you want to chat, reach out. We also have an information session this Thursday. So do sign up for that at yesempower.com, and you can go over to our certified coach training tab to sign up for that. I also want to let you all know that we have a boundaries workshop that I'm teaching under the umbrella of the Oregon Employment and Training Association, or OETA, a wonderful partner and leader within workforce development. The workshop is applicable to everyone. So you do not have to be a workforce development professional to do it. It's just, that's kind of the lens that we're opening it through, but it's taught just about neuroscience and being able to see boundaries through the lens of love and compassion, and that they really are the foundation of all good relationships, and that they are our job to put in place. And so really learning the neuroscience behind that, both how to apply them into our own life and also how to help coach others into that work as well. With that, friends, I'm going to make one last request to you, which is this. Please share this Rewired podcast. If you are loving this and want to support us, one of the greatest ways you can do that is by subscribing or following the podcast, by leaving a comment, by giving us a 5-star review, and by sharing with others. We want to continue to offer this and to grow this, and your support is so important. So thanks again, and I hope you enjoy this episode with the amazing and outstanding and wonderful couples coach, Satya Beneventi. Satya, welcome back to the Rewired podcast. I shared with our listeners moments ago that you were the very first, unbeknownst to you, you thought we were just showing up for a conversation. And it was so meaningful that we just turned it into podcast 1 of the Rewired podcast. So to have you back much more officially now and with your knowledge, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh, Tiffany, thank you so much. It just does make me laugh and giggle because, yes, I did not know that was going to be number 1, which that was wonderful and warms my heart. Thank you so much.
Ah, well, we are, in February. This is the month of love and relationship, and I don't want to miss out on that in Rewired. And so our topic this month that I've kind of been focusing on is this idea that Stephen Covey brought to the world, which is love is a verb. And I love that statement so much and come back to it a lot, that we have to do more than just say, I love you, right? Like, show me, put your money where your mouth is on the love train here. And
amen.
Yeah. And whether that's in a romantic relationship, a friendship, family, whatever it is, it's like, let's show up and be with each other and do this hard work together. And so I'm glad to have you back. We're going to focus specifically on romantic relationships, on partnerships in that way. But before we jump over to that, we always start the podcast with the same question, not when you came last time, but this time we do, which is, what does empowerment mean to you? And what is currently empowering your life right now? Or you can include your relationship as well.
Thank you. Oh, I love that question. Empowerment means to me gaining control over our own lives in a sense. And that's really maybe a harsh, dominant way to say it. So I do like to soften it a little because this actually resonates with me a little bit more. Awakening to how we step through the world from a mental and an emotional perspective. And so I liken it to like a rising up of sorts, like this awakening. And
I love that.
Thank you. Hands down, I have this answer. What is empowering me and my relationships right now is cultivating the courage to share those deep, dark secrets. The ones that where you believe that no one will love you, the ones where you've built something up in your head so big that others would be repulsed by you if they heard the truth. And this has really served me as of late with my current relationship. The very cliched statement, the truth will set you free. Yeah. It is true. We build so much in our heads. And we all know the amazing Brene Brown, right? She says, shine the light on that shame, and shame does not live in light, right? It doesn't. So it'll die on the vine. And I have shared cautiously with my fiance, and it's like a rosebud that has opened. And Anise Anin, she has this little beautiful statement. It's the beginning of the poem. The day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk that it took to blossom.
Yeah.
And I just feel that we just go through these different iterations of this in our lives, of liberating ourselves from these really deep, dark corners. And it's just set me free. It really has.
Yeah. I really resonate with what you're saying. It makes me think of how often we have to revisit that, like, okay, I'll open up about this, but I can't share that, and then we have to go and learn that lesson again. No, this too, you're still worthy, you're still worthy.
Oh, Tiffany, 100%. And I want our listeners right now to really take hold of what you just shared there. We're going to circle back around to that later.
Oh, great.
I just
love that. Well, we are particularly talking about accountability today, right? And what does that mean how do we take accountability within our relationship? And I love this topic. And again, I think it's applicable to so many relationships. We're going to drop it into that kind of romantic type of relationship today. But when couples, I guess what I'm asking is drop us into this a little bit. So when we hear the word accountability, we may feel shame or defensiveness or, feel that tight rosebud up there. How do you define healthy accountability in relationships? And then how is it different from blame?
Yeah, yeah. So I do think that it's true that we feel defensiveness and we feel shame. And maybe we do need to feel a little bit of shame.
Oh, tell me more.
Yes. Let me be very clear. Healthy shame. Okay. So the word shame is inevitably, it's such a no-no, right? And yet I'd like to ensure that we really delineate between healthy shame and toxic shame. I can draw a direct parallel or a correlation to healthy shame is kind of like guilt, right? It's a normal, adaptive emotion. It's a moral compass. It allows us to recognize potential wrongdoing. And on the backside of that, to be able to make amends with people, right? Healthy shame. Toxic shame, which is what we all sort of refer as to the word shame as, is that inherently I'm flawed. I am wrong. I have done something wrong and therefore I am wrong, right? So I do want to make those differences because I don't truly believe that if we have healthy shame, we can step into that gracefully. Gracefully, we can learn to step into that gracefully and then move into taking healthy accountability.
Yeah. Tell me, I think I'm getting hung up on the words healthy shame. What is that just guilt? Tell me about what's the difference there between those things?
So that's what I drew, that parallel and that correlation to guilt. It's a very similar, thread.
Yeah.
Guilt and healthy shame. Richard Rudd uses the word healthy shame. When I first heard that, I was, wait, what? What? What is that about? And it is. It's just what I have just shared. It's that moral compass. Okay. So there is a very direct correlation to guilt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Guilt,
gotcha.
I've done something wrong. Shame is I am wrong.
Yeah.
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 And the way so shame, and then to go to defensiveness, defensiveness, what comes to mind, I think for most is like defense on a basketball team or on a football field. It's like block, 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 block.
Yeah.
Defense at all costs, block this. Do not let this accusation in, right? If you will, don't let it in. We are so scared to admit that we've made an error because this triggers our core wounds. And these 6 core wounds, number 1, repression, number 2, denial, number 3, guilt, number 4, rejection, which is mine, number 5, shame, number 6, separation. So we immediately turn into a kid in adult's clothing, period, right? We defend. We don't want to go there. Our wounds take over and we want it to stop at all costs.
Now, to help source these wounds for me, who is this coming from? I'm getting defensive. You don't know me.
That's what a true analytical would say. So the body of work that is talking about those 6 core wounds that I just presented is the Gene Keys. And that is Richard Rudd that I have just mentioned a little bit earlier. And his work goes deep, deep into these core wounds. Okay. Where they come from. That's literally another podcast in and of itself. Yeah. Truly.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So,
okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have something to say about healthy accountability, right? So to take healthy accountability, which is where we want to grow to inside of that beautiful relationship of ours. And it's stopping and noticing that maybe you are in that 5-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old self that is in there running the show. That little one is going to use this silly little metaphor, but that little one has its hands on the steering wheel, right? It's driving you and your partner into the land that is dark and eerie and desolate, right? And
what could go wrong?
What could go wrong? A 5-year-old behind the wheel. And really, to integrate healthy accountability, you really need to say to that little self, okay, take your hands off the steering wheel, go ahead and get in the back seat. And my 55-year-old self is taking over from here.
Yeah.
So, hey, look, you did a great job for me when I was younger, but right now you're making a total mess of things.
Yeah.
So, thank you. And I release you from this job. Okay. So, it is literally a beautiful visualization that you can use for yourself. It's healthy accountability. You're able to insert consciousness into your decision making. So, this does require you to do some inner work, right? Because you do need to understand that you're triggered and that you have to begin to peel back those layers of the blame. Excuse me, of the shame.
Yeah.
Of the pain.
They all
Blame,
rhyme. You know
shame,
what?
pain, all of it. Let's do all of it. Yeah, you got to peel back those layers.
Yeah. Yeah. As you said that, it made me think, at 5, I think kids are still, mine are older now. I don't remember, but I think you're still in a car seat, right? At a 5, you could be at like a booster seat or a car seat. And like, it makes me think of that, visualizing that, like not just get out of here, but let me go put you in a safe place. Like, thank you, young child. Thank you. I love you. And let me go tuck you back in and click you in. And you get to be the kid, That's kind of what I thought of as you painted that picture.
Tiffany, I'm going to use that. That is, so one of the things is that we want to hold that little one in such warm regard.
Yeah.
Because that little one really served us at that time. So I love that visualization that you just gave us, right? Oh, just cradle that one and put them back in their car seat and safely buckle them in.
Yeah.
I love you and you're good here, right?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it also makes me think of that flip your lid, the Dan Siegel work of that self-regulating, like, let's do this work, whatever it is, speaking to that younger version of you or visualizing that or a feeling and getting back, as you're describing this 55-year-old version of me is going to start driving. That prefrontal cortex is going to come back online and I'm going to work through this. And yeah, so good.
That is exactly right. And then,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me add one more thing here. And I know I'm blame. I want to chat about blame a little bit, right?
Please, yes.
And let's make it really easy. Blame is that little one that's pointing the fingers at everyone but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So the literal definition of blame is to find fault with, to place responsibility for. And so this isn't going to go over well inside of relationship, right? There's a statement again from Richard Rudd, interestingly enough, that he talks about our DNA rings out into the subtle planes and pulls in those people that will offer us the highest level of optimum growth. I'm talking friendships, intimate partners, those people that touch our lives intimately. Into me, I see. So, hello, we're not doing this alone. And to blame the other for triggering you really needs to be a huge red flag for you to begin the work of looking inward.
Yeah.
The trigger is like, okay, it's time for me to see what's under the hood. What is in there for me? This engine's not running at the optimum level.
Yeah.
What's happening for me?
Mm-hmm.
And we have chosen those people so we can grow and we can evolve. And no one said it's going to be easy to look at our shadows and to look at our wounds. This includes our children, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And doing that work, that really deep work in living a regular old life. We're also probably people are working and still being in relationship and having to parent and move forward. So it's like, how do we do this work in busy lives and in relationships that maybe are already entrenched in blame or behavior that isn't necessarily filled with winning strategies, right?
Yes, not filled with winning strategies because we, I believe we have a tendency to take them for granted. And the relationship that you have with your intimate partner is truly baseline. It's what you shared at the beginning about love. You said it's action oriented. It's a verb, right? Love, Marianne Williamson says love is a participatory emotion.
Yeah.
So I think that just because life gets in the way and money and jobs and families and children and carpools and activities and
Money and
all of
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
we ignore the one that's right here in front of us that actually has the largest impact negatively,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
can really negatively impact. And it's a cascading. That's why I'm saying it's the baseline. That relationship will cascade into everything.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's almost like a reversal. Let's put that at the top and focus on
Yeah.
that first.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be back after a quick break.
What if you could turn your passion for helping others into a career that changes lives, starting with your own? Join Empower's certified professional Empower Coach Academy, accredited by the ICF and powered by Oregon State University. Our next cohort begins February 28th. Visit yesempower.com to reserve your spot today.
So, what are some common practices that you see in your couples coaching and in the work that you do where you see couples falling into some maybe not, those losing strategies, if you will, these patterns that might give us a heads up of, oh, there could be some deeper work here, right? If we're listening and we hear maybe some of this, it could be affirming to us that there's work to do and there's beautiful places to do that work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely loved that you have asked this question, Tiffany. It's actually masterful, and I'm going to tell you why. You said the phrase common patterns, common protective patterns, losing strategies, protective being a very key word here. You know, we all have black belts in protection. I'm going to protect myself from this coming in. Like I said before, you don't make an accusation on me. You don't get to do this, right? It served us so well growing up. Like I've already mentioned, for example, for me personally, I grew up in a family where our parents didn't talk to us about anything, nothing, just going through the motions of life. And I have dubbed a phrase for my upbringing, just let life happen to you, right? There's no look, and I'm not judging my parents, and I'm not even going to play that game, right? They did the
Right.
best that they could do, and
Yep.
that's fine. I'm making sense of my narrative. So now, fast forward to my 24-year marriage, my losing strategy was to withdraw, right? Hello, makes a lot of sense.
Right.
It doesn't, stuff gets hard. I'm not going to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? I just go in. So as a young child, I adapted to my environment by withdrawing because I have to say, I went to my parents for emotional support at some point. That little
Right.
one did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And didn't receive it. And so then, therefore, I no longer went to them, you know? And there were multiple examples of I really, really needed my parents
Yeah.
and they weren't there. And I just dealt with it on my own. So then I took that protective pattern that I cultivated in my childhood into my adult relationship. I'd shut down, withdraw, give up, go along. And I just, until I couldn't anymore, right? I had to do it. So I adapted then, and it's faulty. It's maladaptive now. And, so it was absolutely, it got me to where I am now to see it. I had to go through a marriage to figure that one out because I couldn't change those patterns, right? Because that was a very ingrained protective pattern. I didn't know how to change. Now I do. But so I would say that there are the losing strategies that are the most common. I'm just going to list like the top 5 losing strategies. Yeah. Okay. Being right, control, retaliation, unbridled self-expression, and withdrawal.
Tell me about the unbridled self-expression. What does that mean? The others all make sense to me, but I'm curious about that one.
So there's a lot of personality profiling tests and things of that nature where that unbridled self-expression is essentially attacking with your words. I'm coming at you. I'm going to come at you and I'm not going to stop. Right. And it's attack. It's attacking.
Okay.
Yeah. So just for the listeners to understand, you'll have your primary, but you will also have a secondary and maybe even a third, right? Losing strategies, they're not relational. They are, like I mentioned before, and your beautiful question, they're protective, common protective pattern. Yeah.
Yeah. As you were saying that, it made me think about, again, that word protective. I'm human. I'm not immune to these things in my own relationships and marriages. And so what it makes me think of is I almost have a calming when I practice these. Like when I get into mine is stonewalling or, whatever word we would use for that in this scenario. But that shutting down, boom, I don't need you, this ultra independence, and I'm moving on. And then it's like a calming for me. Like my whole nervous system can kind of settle in. And I just, as you said that, and then I'm like fantasizing, right? Like I'm in my car, I'm just going to drive away. That this is almost like from a nervous system standpoint, to add that word protective then, my gosh, it makes so much sense because it feels like I'm protecting myself. I'm affirming that. I'm doubling down on this thing that is actually harming myself and my marriage, my relationships. That's right. And it feels safer to me when I'm doing that.
That's right. That is so right. And that is 100% a losing strategy profile. Losing strategy profile. Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because you said you feel calm and you feel relaxed. And it's almost like this empowerment in a way, right?
Yeah.
Of almost, and I'm going to be very direct, but almost like an entitlement, right? Like, oh, well, I'm going to stay here in this calm. What are you doing over there?
Yeah.
Unbridledly self-expressing to me or.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so totally. It's this dance that we do.
Yeah. And then just create this deeper divide.
That's right.
Yeah. Which is the opposite of probably what we want. But
indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. But it feels vulnerable to do this work and to come back together. And yeah, fascinating.
Yes, it does.
Just as a side note, I'm just curious and following up. So you had said, that pattern that you had practiced about kind of withdrawing, as you said, it quote unquote cost me a marriage. At what point, where did your awakening come? Where do we awaken to these patterns? How do we, we can talk about this as a practice, but I'm curious for you, how did that awareness come to you?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Feeling overwhelmed or anxious? Empower professional coach Theo Morrison specializes in mindfulness for anxiety support to help you find calm and clarity. Get coached with Theo today and start your journey towards balance. Learn more at yesempower.com.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tiffany, because it's making me really go back to that time. It's now been 14 years. And honestly, I began a very profound practice of meditation, journaling, and reading, personal development every single morning. And that was a non-negotiable in my life, hands down, period. Very vulnerably here, as we are talking of the spirit of vulnerability, I created a family with this man and broke my heart to split up our family. And, I truly felt I had to do the inner work to dig into what was behind this happening, what was my part in this. So when you put that out there and that's the work you want to do, books come your way, relationships come your way. Oh, this therapist can see you now, or that kind of a thing. So it's all of the above, right? Which brought me to the awareness of my role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a saying that I don't know who it belongs to, but it's circled around my head as you said that, which is when the student is ready, the teacher appears,
That's right.
And that sounds like that readiness, just that opening to it and really diving into your own mindfulness meditation, which is the self-awareness and being able to see our thoughts and all of those things. Yeah. It's
Yes.
amazing. So many, partners come into coaching focused on what the other person is doing wrong. So we were talking about all the rhyming words: pain, blame, shame, present. So they're coming into coaching with this. What helps someone shift towards seeing the part that they play in this dynamic? It seems like magical work. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question again. Look at you. All right.
I was
So
just full of them. I should start a podcast.
that would be a great idea. Oh. To shift toward themselves versus focusing on their partner. It could be numerous things, but I just want to share a couple of things here. I like to teach couples that you are in relationship. You are not on an island by yourself. You are partnered up, you're married, you're not married to yourself. So if that were the case, do whatever you want, but you're not, right?
So good.
So would you rather be right or would you rather be married? Right? You're a team, man. You're a team.
Yeah.
And you don't want to compete with your partner. This creates profound disconnection. And I have this etched memory in my brain. My fiance and I, this was early in our relationship. We've been together for 6 years now. My fiance and I, oh my gosh, we were, I don't like to say it was an argument. We were just having a discussion that was really uncomfortable. And he says to me in the middle of this thing, I don't feel like we're on the same team. I remember where he was standing and where I was sitting.
Yeah.
That hit me so hard, like a punch in the gut. And I was like, again, to go back to defensiveness. Why was I so defensive?
Yeah.
Childhood stuff, of course, but he really made me stop and think. Oh yeah, we are on the same team. Let's start acting like we're on the same team is what I was telling myself, right?
Yeah.
So that
This
is one thing.
epiphany. What I'm hearing you describe is like I hadn't even thought about that idea of being on the same team. There's a win and a lose and a good and a bad. And yeah, wow.
When you're in it and you're making your way to fight, freeze, or fawn, you're not thinking like that. So for him just to bring it, it was a beautiful surprise for me. stop me in my tracks. Another item I would say is that if they're really able to see their behavior, that is something very similar to a parent, something that was modeled to them. It's not your fault per se, yet the onus is on you as an adult with a fully developed brain to really start to do the work and figure out if you are directly mirroring a parent. So I was actually just working with a client right before this for you and I being together today. And her storyline is, I have to do everything and I'm holding it together for everyone. Right. And this is just a huge burden for her and her relationship. She's not asking for help because she believes that she won't get the help that she needs. And she's creating this story in her mind, which creates chaos in her life because she's not asking for the help, and it strains the relationship. So, she needs to ask without the expectation of support, but just ask. She'll feel better in the asking. She sees the direct tie from where it came from because it was something her mother modeled to her. And you know what? Surprise, she most likely will get the support. But again, right? Do you see how we take that on and we just put it here and then we focus it outward where they're not going to help anyways, right? They're not going to do it.
Yeah.
They're the problem. I'm just going to have to do this by myself, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, it makes me think about this idea. I use this phrase a lot. It's like we are committed to our misery, right? Like we recommit, we tell these stories, we decide it's the truth, and then we commit wholeheartedly. And again, this is not saying anybody else is doing it wrong and I'm doing it right. I'm part of this as well and learning along with all of the learning that happens. But it's like, what could have I asked? Have I asked lately? Have I asked beyond maybe the same person? Like, does help have to look like from the people who live in the house? Can it be a paid service? Can it be, just once we let go of that, letting go of that blame and think, what do I have control over here? And what is true now? I mean, again, you think about these long relationships that we have with intimate partners. We are physically, mentally, emotionally totally different people than we were probably when we met these folks 10, 20, 30 years ago. And so could things have changed, or can we explore this in a different way? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. The statement, relationships are minute by minute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
They
that's so
are.
true. Yeah.
It's a lot of hard work.
It's so
But it's
it's a lot of minutes in 20 years, you know what I mean?
A lot of minutes, yes. Indeed, a lot of minutes.
So, okay, so let's talk about, we're kind of talking about these long-standing relationships and the long-standing relational patterns that can form in these. Why do couples feel like they're having the same argument? And, I could ask this for my own marriage, or we're on repeat. Even when we care deeply about each other, we keep maybe fighting or staying focused on or repeating the same patterns over and over and over again.
And that is exactly what we do.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we do. It might show up a little bit of a different covering or a mask, but ultimately, at the very end, when you distill it down, it is literally the same thing. Esther Perel talks about that. She says, couples are going to argue about the same, inevitably the same thing.
Yeah.
So the way I look at this is we are here to learn these lessons that we need to learn for our optimum level of growth, right? What I shared with you before, the quote from Richard Rudd.
Yeah.
Our intimate partner and our children are the ones who are going to press our buttons that we can achieve said growth. Some lessons are light switch moments, right? Meaning we move through them quickly, and others will continue to surface, yet in hopes they are watered down a little bit. We hope a little bit more and more and more and more, right? These longer standing arguments, they truly are the more deeply ingrained ones that have created those beliefs that we cling to. And we have a really, really hard time either identifying that it's the same theme, or we don't want to admit that it had anything to do with our messaging from the past. So if we find ourselves in these blocks, if you will, of, oh, well, no, that wasn't that same argument from before, you know? But if you have, obviously, if you have an enlightened witness, someone to support you, they'll get to that root and they will show you, oh, this is the same thing. But as you know, as the couple is not, they're not going down for that root like a coach would, right? So they're up here dancing up on the top, not thinking they're correlated in any way, shape, or form, right? So that's a block in and of itself. So that default, that groove is so, so, so deeply ingrained. What did I say? Embedded. Yeah. Embedded and ingrained. It didn't sound like the word came out right. I was like, wait, what was that? So it is truly just like when you go to the gym to build your muscles, right? We all hear this from the brain perspective, new neural networks. We must practice with a new pattern of thought. Otherwise, we're just going to default into that old, deeply ingrained neural network. And we have to really practice with the new. So it does take work. It truly does take work. And I do believe you want to get that support from that enlightened witness, that somebody that can be there to shine the light on those things that you truly can't see.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a perfect relationship. And there is always going to be something that you're going to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can just, a lot of times it's so interesting. I might be going off on a little tangent here and we'll see, but there's this book, it's called His Needs, Her Needs. And right now I'm forgetting the author's name. His need is a need for peace. They want peace. They want peace, right? So they may have a hard time. I just want this to stop. I just want this to stop.
Yeah.
And it's like I said before, if you're not going to admit that it had anything to do with your past, or if you're clinging to something, that you're going to have a hard time identifying it being this one or two root level things that could completely break through your world, right? It really could. I hope that made sense.
It makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to the listeners. I think it does. And I think some of the key ways that you're saying this that I want to highlight, I love the idea of the enlightened witness. I love that phrasing. And how when you're in it, you're in it. So you're at the surface level and you're just noticing how they looked at you or what they did yesterday or what happened, what they said, right? These like very surface level things. And so I love what you're saying about this enlightened witness. And I think this is true in so many places of our lives, to have somebody that we trust who can see a larger picture, because their brain and their nervous system is not at the surface level, right? They're not engaged in this. This doesn't affect me. Your argument doesn't affect me. And so I get to show up to your life in a really different way and have these observations that we can have together, where we can begin to see the roots of this. And that while we keep maybe snipping it off at the top as a couple,
That's right.
what we know about, real stubborn grasses in the wild is they're going to come right back, and they're going to come back even stronger. And so I love this idea of I love just that phrasing. I think it really captures the importance of going to somebody, investing in ourselves, investing in this marriage that we are in. It's our own island, maybe. Like, how are we building the infrastructure and what's happening around here, and investing in that? We don't do that work by ourselves, right? We want to bring in, loving, caring, enlightened witnesses. I love that. Yeah.
That's exactly right. And on a quote, a study, this was many, many years ago, but on average, it takes 7 years for a couple to go in for support on average. It takes them 7 years. So some quite obviously longer and some a little bit shorter. Yeah, it's to me, a staggering statistic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I was just I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one that I listen to is called Science Versus. I don't know if you're familiar with
Mm.
this one.
Mm-mm.
But she takes any topic and dumps it into science. Like, let's really see what the truth of this is. So I just love it. But it was all about relationships. And it's a really good one. I'll send it to you. Maybe I'll link it into the show notes if I can
Oh, nice.
legally. I don't know how I can do that. But so she's talking with this one person who studies couples, and what she's saying, what the scientist was saying is what they find. So this particular scientist, they will go in, him and his team will go in and they work with newlyweds. And then they have them, set them up and have them have an argument about something. I think it's like 7 minutes or 10 minutes or something. And then the team comes back every couple years and they just are witnessing them having arguments and seeing how it changes and how it grows over the span of their marriage. It's amazing.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's a really great podcast. But so he's saying one of the things that really makes the difference in long relationships is exactly what you just described, that we are a team. That what happens in relationships where they start to degrade is that the problem becomes, it's between us, and it's just what you named. It's blame, it's shame, it's pain, it's all of these things. And the problem is not ours, it's yours, and you need to fix it. And so I love what you're saying, because it absolutely aligns with what research says, is that how do we get back on a team?
That's right.
And so much is possible in that space.
Yes. Relational.
Yeah.
Relational. Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well said, Tiffany. Well said.
It was a pot. It wasn't mine. So I want to talk a little bit. I know the work on Richard Rudd and all of the different categories and labels that you had said before is another podcast, which I can appreciate.
Yes.
And I'm also curious about, these labels. Like, if we label ourselves, how does that help awareness? And I'm curious, does it ever limit growth? Do you ever witness that it limit, like, well, this is what I am, and so I can't change, or this is the inner child?
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Yes, 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 of course. Yes. So the labels, right? Yes. I find it's interesting. Now I'm talking about from a coaching perspective, and I'm working with a couple. So, and then I'll go into what you're talking about, what you're asking about, I should say. I find naming the couple's dance is incredibly important. The concept of naming it to tame it, right?
Yeah.
When you have conscious awareness that you're in a default pattern, you can begin to create change, period, hands down. You get the partners to agree and resonate with their dance. And it's just like making sense of anything else, right? How the car works, how a basketball game is played, how to run a business, This is the business of relationship. So we have a tendency to push the relationship work to the back burner and take our relationships for granted, which I was saying a little bit ago. And this is a horrible, horrible choice. As mentioned before, relationships are minute by minute. And so it is our most important operating system in the home. And we just get lazy. And it's just like a plant that needs water, so do our relationships. So now, labeling. So let's say, for example, going back to those losing strategies, right? You've got the unbridled self-expression and you have the withdrawer. We want to label that. And we want the couple to know that they're in those labels, right? The fine line, though, is where you were talking about limiting our growth, right? The very fine line is that when a label is then used against our partner.
Yes.
Right? We have the tendency to go to whose fault is it? Who started? Why are we in this state of being? Well, you caused me to pursue because you weren't listening. You were mocking me. You were shutting me down. You were, right? And it just really, let's take it back to what we talked about earlier today, is like, healthy accountability.
Yeah.
So it takes two of us to be in this current state, not one. Even though it may seem like one person is bringing something, no, no, no. It is a loop, and we are in this loop together.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to step in with the healthy accountability, right? And I'm not talking about in fight, flight, or freeze. That's not what I'm talking about. Those are
Right.
the times you take a break and you kind of got to go your separate ways and motor it through your body and then come back, uncharge, repair that rupture, right? But I actually overarchingly find that when we have a label inside of a relationship, we can tame it. And then they can learn new tools and tactics and create something different. And also, not only if we label it, Tiffany, we can also find, again, going back to the root analogy of the weed, if we're finding the root of that unbridled self-expression, right? Let me give you an example. So-and-so was abandoned as a child. They were neglected as a child. So as soon as they feel like that person's going to withdraw from them, it scares the heck out of them.
Yeah.
And they want to come after you. So it's like, if you can connect dots, all of a sudden, right? Oh, well, that's where this is coming from.
Yeah.
I could give a million examples of clients who have worked through stuff like that before, right? So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
great. Yeah, so they can be so empowering, and also we want to be careful with how we're utilizing them. I'm imagining, staying on our theme of accountability, that they could be weaponized as somebody else keeping us limited in that, right? So if a
that's
partner
right.
starts to use that as a word they're giving us, or they're naming our behaviors, so really, again, it's that team. It's the
That's
team. So
right.
if we're going to name it to tame it, we need to do this together in ways that feel safe for both of us to show up and do this work. Yeah.
That's right. And when I'm working with a couple and these labels come to the surface, I literally say the words, do not use this against one another.
Yeah.
There is a fine line of understanding and, right, like I said,
Yeah.
using it against someone. Exactly. Be very, very, very mindful and very careful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
vulnerable work. It's big, vulnerable work.
Yes, it is.
So tell us, this is the part of the podcast that I love, which is I love to have, there's deep work. I'm sure listeners are hearing what you're saying and saying, oh, I want to do this coaching. I want to do this work. And also there's work that we could take from this right now and start to apply to our lives. And so I'm curious if there are a few small, realistic ways that someone could begin taking accountability, even if their partner isn't ready yet. How can we do this and impact our relationships positively? I should say
Positively.
positively impact.
Yeah, another fantastic question. So you're saying begin to move the needle when one person's making the change and perhaps the other one's not quite there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe a couple things here. I see I see partners all the time where they feel that one person is doing the heavy lifting, and most likely they are, right? And then that person doing the heavy lifting sometimes gets exhausted and they get angry and they feel like I'm the only one doing this work. Here's what I have to say about that. You're doing this great work for yourself, capital SELF, and
Yeah.
ultimately for the relationship. So if this great work you're doing does not take hold right away, are you better off because you're growing? I think so. You're growing. There's absolutely nothing negative about that. Yes, you feel alone. Yes, you feel frustrated. Yes, sometimes you probably want to give up, right? And you are doing yourself a huge favor for mining for the why, because that is the gold. And who could argue that, oh, I already just said it. Who could argue that growth without your partner matching it is negative? You can't. You're growing.
Yeah.
I went to this workshop 15 years ago, and it was about relationships. And this woman, she was speaking to us, and I went up to her on break and I asked her, when you have a couple that's in gridlock and no one is just really willing, to step forward and create the change, this is not this is not easy to do. But she said one person has to be the one to give empathy, period. One person has to be able to do it. So if you find yourself in an uncharged moment with your partner, it's kind of just easy, copacetic, give it a try to be vulnerable. Say to your partner, I want to share something. I want to share something with you. And I'm trying to create a change here. And I'm letting you know to be on the lookout. I'm not asking for anything in return. Just know that I'm trying to show up differently. So, what does that do, right? It softens the other person because they're like, oh, they're really trying, right? And they then, and I love this piece of it, they can begin to see you differently.
Yeah.
And so when you are doing it differently, now they're noticing.
Yeah.
And talk about the needle just moving a little bit, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I do have an example.
Okay.
I do have an example. Couple that I was working with, she was the pursuer, he is the withdrawer. We got to the bottom of the reason that he withdrew. And it's clearly, of course, something from his past. And it literally had nothing to do with her. And once she truly understood this, she began to develop a new thought pattern for herself in the moment. This has nothing to do with me, nothing. So he would leave and she would tell herself that. She would say the statement over and over. And literally to this day, she's like, this has helped me tremendously. I don't chase him. I don't go after him. He comes back too. And we talked about the rules of a timeout. You got to go back.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's, we could
So
pause there on
good.
that.
I mean, we're talking about mindset shifts, right? Like I think what you said when you opened this, and it was so beautiful, which was that if we're doing this work, we're doing it for ourselves. I'm not doing it as a tool to change you. I'm doing it for myself. And that is a mindset shift. For me, I think it is. It's really amazing. And then this idea too of like where we can create that affirmation or that target, that mindset shift for us to start thinking from a new platform. This isn't about me. This isn't about me. I can not take it personally. I can have feelings about it. I can have thoughts about it, but I don't have to react from a survival place because this is not about me. I mean, that again, it's saying it the same way. It's like, this is looking at this through the lens of what do I have control over? What can I bring to this? And ultimately, I'm growing and shifting and changing as a human being. And that's all I have control over. That's
right.
Yeah.
Empowerment.
Yeah. Empowerment. Yep. Yeah. Well, amazing. I so appreciate your time and appreciate all the amazing work that you do. We will definitely link to you. This work that you're doing with couples is profound. And yeah, it's this minute by minute devotion, that we're doing and showing up to that with this enlightened witness, I think is such a beautiful act of love. I think it's a beautiful way to be in love.
Oh, and you said literally, Tiffany, you just said minute by minute devotion.
Mm-hmm.
Devotion. That's one of my favorite words. Minute by minute devotion. I love that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
so true. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Satya. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Thank
And any final
you.
things you want to say before we exit this space?
Well, this is something that I just over the course of all the years of coaching, people are so, and talk about mindset shift. This is where this is. I'm going to offer up another mindset shift here before we close very
Yeah.
quickly here. So, conflict. People are so afraid of conflict. And I like to offer it to be seen in such a different way. If conflict can be seen as a place to grow and learn versus something to shut down at all costs, it fosters creativity and freedom, growth, and expansion. So, not to be afraid of conflict.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mindset shift.
Conflict. Yeah. 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 We teach the same thing in leadership skills, right? If we have that mindset that conflict is to be avoided, oh my gosh, we miss out on so much growth and we suppress so much magic and creativity. Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Satya. Well, I told you it'd be a good one, right? It's always a great conversation with Satya. If you have an interest in working with Satya, I want to encourage you to get over to our website, yesempower.com. Get onto the coaching tab. You will find Satya there. She generally offers sessions in packages of 3 and 6. I highly recommend it. Really an amazing human being, and what she can offer couples is truly outstanding. Take care, everyone. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Rewired, where neuroscience meets real life change. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I'd be so grateful if you take a moment to leave a 5-star review. Your feedback helps people discover the tools, insights, and inspirations they need to create lasting change. While you're leaving that 5-star review, please also subscribe and share an episode with a friend. Remember, the way you think shapes the way you live. Every intentional thought, every mindful choice rewires your brain and your life. So go live intentionally, live thoughtfully, and never underestimate the power of your own mind to transform your world. Until next time, this is Tiffany with Empower Coaching and Training. Stay curious, stay empowered, and keep rewiring for real change.
Every family has challenges, and every parent deserves support. At Empower Coaching and Training, youth and parenting coach Jasmine Chandler helps parents and young people find clarity, connection, and practical tools that make a difference. Visit yesempower.com to connect with Jasmine and explore our team of incredible coaches today.